Since starting my temperature quilt, I've had a lot of questions about my perfect little appliqué circles, so I thought I would do a little video and show you how I do mine. So this is a sample from my quilt, but I figured I would use some printed fabric so I could show you the right sides and the wrong sides of the fabric. I'm gonna do 1.5 inch circles because that's what I'm using for the temperature quilt, and the smaller you go, the harder it gets. So let's see. First, I'll show you the tools that I use. This is my portable bin, so I can take my little project anywhere I want. And the first thing I have, I like to use the bottom line thread from Superior Threads. This is what the spool looks like. And I only use 2 colors. I use color number 623 for light fabrics, and I use color number 622 for dark fabrics. And this I do with all my applique. I just don't like to have hundreds of different colors laying around. That's our thread. The needles I like to use are size 11 milliner's needles. The reason I do that is that they're nice and thin, but they have eyes that are a little bigger, so because my eyesight is just not what it used to be. Then I have my little Karen K Buckley Perfect Scissors. They are just the greatest. I highly recommend them. I use Karen K Buckley's Perfect Circles. If there's one thing you would ever need for making perfect circles, it would be these. They come in this little package of 15 different sizes, between 7/16 of an inch and I think 2 inches, and there's 4 of each size, and they have this nifty little hangy thingy so you can keep them organized. For my quilt, I'm using the 1.5 inch size. There it is. Okay, so we have our circle, we have our needles, we have our thread. I have just a regular mechanical pencil, and I think that's all we need for right now. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, I'll move this out of the way. I'm gonna take the fabric that is gonna be the color of our circle, flip it upside down, take our little Karen K Buckley Perfect Circle and our mechanical pencil, and we're gonna just trace the circle on the wrong side of the fabric. Doesn't need to be too perfect. There we go. Hope you can see that. It's right there. Then I'm gonna cut it out probably somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch from the circle I just traced. There we go, see? Now the next thing I'm gonna do, I have this old hand quilting thread that I used many eons ago. I don't even think you get it anymore. But the reason I like the hand quilting thread is, for what I'm about to do, is that it's strong and pretty thick, and I can pull on it pretty hard and it won't break. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a little length of this, 10 inches or so, I'd say, because I'm doing a 1.5 inch circle. That should be more than enough. And then I am gonna thread the needle. By the way, this is handy too. I got this for Christmas from a good friend. It's a tiny little portable pen cushion, and on here I can have all my needles and a couple of pens, and it fits into my little portable bin. Okay, you don't have to knot the thread or anything. I have this, I have my fabric. I'm gonna flip it around, and I'm gonna just baste, oh, maybe 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way around. Note that I started on the right side of the fabric over here, not on the wrong side. There's a very good reason for that, and you'll see that coming up. My basic stitches are about 1/8 of an inch. When you get closer to the end here, try and come up about a stitch length from where you went in the first time, and once again finish on the right side of the fabric. There we go. Pull the needle out, put it back in my pin cushion, and then just knot these little threads. Just one little knot. Just easier to pull them when you do that. See, one knot. Okay, now I'm putting it down on the table, right side down. Once again, I'm taking my little perfect circle, putting it right in the middle there, taking one end of each of the thread and just pull. See, you can move it around if it's not centered perfectly, but you should be able to just tighten it. And because I've got a knot in there, and because this is pretty thick thread, it won't really come undone all that easily. Okay, now we're gonna go over to the iron. At this point, you can give it a second knot. Mine actually still pulls when I knot it a second time. I don't know if you use a different thread, if that would work. So I just knot it again. Make sure it's pretty tight around the circle. Look at that perfect little circle. And now I'm gonna iron it. I used to starch the whole thing, but I found if I just spray a little starch on the back, that works. This is Best Press, my favorite starch. And I will show you my bottle. Let me see if I can do that. I just recently discovered these, and I now have one for both starch and water because it sprays a very fine mist. I bought one at a quilt show and one at my local quilt store, so you should be able to find one if you want. Okay, let's get back to the circle. I sprayed some starch on there, and I'm gonna take my hot iron. Pretty much press it until it's dry. I only press on the wrong side because especially with the solids I'm using, they get shiny really easily, and I've found that just spraying the starch on the wrong side and pressing on the wrong side is totally enough. So press it until it's completely dry. You do not want this wet. It has to be dry. And then the hardest thing is that you should wait until it's cooled down back to room temperature. Don't do anything while this is warm. So my little circle has cooled down. The next thing would be to take out the basting thread that we did. So I'm just going to snip it with my little Karen K Buckleys. Love these perfect scissors. And I am not being paid to say that. I've never found anything I like more. So snip it in a couple spots and just pull it out. See, no more thread. And then you can carefully take out your perfect circle. And there you have your little circle ready for applique onto your background. It's my background. Normally you would like mark the center of your square, but what I've been doing is just cutting it a little oversized and then trimming it afterwards, which I find easier than marking the center before. Because the background's pretty light, I think I'm just going to be using the 623 Spirit Threads bottom line thread for this applique. See how fine this thread is? It will pretty much disappear into your applique, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't match perfectly. I'm going to pin my circle onto my background on 3 sides with some applique pins. These are ones I've been using for my wool applique. They're a little bigger than I would usually use, but they work for this because the circle's not that tiny. Okay, 3 little pins, and then I'll start over here. I'm not going to show you how to do hand applique. There are lots of tutorials out there, so you can just Google hand applique and you can find a lot of tutorials that will show you how to do it. So I'm going to quickly applique this little circle on there, and then I'll show you what I do next. Okay, so here's my little appliqué circle. Isn't it cute? It's perfect. You don't see this thread. Look at that. Even though you know it was kind of more of a wide thread. And here's the back. I haven't ironed or pressed it at this point because I'm going to do one more step, which is to cut away the excess fabric from the back, which would make it just lay flatter. So what I'm going to do is just kind of try and separate the front and the back layers here a little bit. So I just pulled the back away from the front a bit because I don't want to cut through it. And I make a little notch in here. Take my little scissors and I go really almost 1/8 of an inch, less than 1/4 of an inch from my stitching here. And I cut through both layers all the way around the circle. I actually do have the medium size perfect scissors, which work a little better for cutting fabric. The little ones are great for thread though. So I'm gonna cut all the way around and then I'll show you when I'm done. Here I am, I'm done cutting away the excess fabric. This is great for making it lay a little flatter. It's always also great if your background fabric was maybe quite a bit darker than your circle and you didn't want it to show as much on the front. Another reason why it makes this lay flat is because most of the gathers, I'll show you, from the circle are right along the edge here, and those are the ones that show really badly on the front. So in doing this, I'm cutting away a lot of the gathered bits. That. Now we're back at the ironing board, and I'm gonna only iron this from the back. I am not gonna mess with the front because, like I said before, my solid fabrics get really shiny if I iron or press them too much, and this actually is perfectly fine just from the back. Okay, all ironed, and there we go, a perfect little circle applique. Voila. I do have a few little circle applique kits available in my Etsy store. Just search for Twiddle Tails on Etsy. They include a little packet of these Richard Hemming & Son number 11 millimeters needles, a 623 superior threads bottom line, a 622 superior threads bottom line, and a whole little set of Karen K. Buckley's perfect circles. So once again, just hop on over to Etsy and you can find a couple of these still there. If you enjoyed this tutorial, be sure to visit the YouTube channel. I'm trying to add extra videos as quickly as I can. And if you have any suggestions, let me know. Have a wonderful day.